Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway, where you can shop online and get easy delivery or free pickup. Whether it's enjoying fresh wings from the deli while you watch the game or getting ingredients for dinner, Safeway makes it simple to get what you need.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
This Saturday, Golden is bracing for a familiar kind of wet-nosed takeover. Golden's in Golden has grown into one of the state's most beloved and busiest canine events. Last year alone, an estimated 7,500 people and 3,000 dogs packed into the city's downtown for it. This year, organizers of the event honoring golden retrievers are changing things up to improve some of the crowding. They've extended hours from 9 till 1, doubled the amount of vendors, and will even be running a dog-friendly shuttle to help alleviate the parking strain. Organizers say it's all in the name of keeping tails wagging and traffic moving. I'm Haley May. Coming up, Colorado poultry is under threat again.
All of this flock will be euthanized in order to prevent additional virus spreading and protect the rest of the flocks in the area.
An update on the latest outbreak of bird flu from the state's top veterinarian. Plus, Coloradans could gain the ability to take ICE officers to court over misconduct.
I'm asking you guys to put your voice forward and put a foot down and put some kind of legalities in to keep our community safe.
And even with a torn ACL, Lindsey Vonn says she's still got big plans for the Olympics.
I know my chances aren't the same as it stands today. I know there's still a chance. And as long as there's a chance, I will try.
It's Wednesday, February 4th. Here's the news in Colorado today. Avian flu has returned to Colorado with some possible implications for the farms that supply eggs to our grocery stores, people with backyard flocks, and even our wild birds. For an update, we're joined by state veterinarian Dr. Maggie Baldwin. Thanks for making time for us.
Happy to be here today, Haley.
So I remember that bird flu was a big deal a few years back in the state. Producers destroyed millions of hens just trying to contain it. Now it looks like it's surging again. Can you just walk me through this new outbreak in 2026?
Yeah, so as you indicated, this is something that we've been dealing with for a number of years. Our first outbreak started back in 2022, and we're seeing this globally. We're seeing continued outbreak with the same strain of the virus, which is H5N1. So this is a virus that is carried and shed and spread by wild birds, and as those birds migrate through, there's risk of spillover for that virus into our poultry operations. And we've seen that this strain of avian influenza is something that, for whatever reason, and we can't figure out what that reason is, it's hanging on in that wild bird population. And it's puzzling a lot of our avian influenza experts.
We know this week that the state had announced there was quite a large case at an egg-laying facility in Weld County. Talk to me about how they discovered it and what do producers typically do in these kinds of situations?
Yeah, so those owners, sometimes they see clinical signs. So they might see the birds get sick very suddenly, but typically what we see is a really high mortality rate. This virus can cause up to 100% mortality in domestic poultry flocks. And so the first thing they do is they call me or one of my team members, and then we organize testing. That happened very rapidly. In this case, they called me early on Thursday morning, and we organized testing, had samples at the lab within a couple of hours. It's a pretty quick process. This particular facility has 1.33 million birds on site. And of course, because this virus causes nearly 100% mortality, all of this flock will be euthanized in order to prevent additional virus spreading and protect the rest of the flocks in the area.
When we talk about spread, in this particular case, with there being so many sick animals, is there any risk to humans?
So fortunately, there's no risk to the general public. So poultry and eggs are still safe to eat at this time. And we're really worried on just containing this particular outbreak to this flock. And so there's no additional concern on our end for the general public. We're just really working to protect the health of the workers that are on site.
And what about backyard flocks? There have been a few dozen birds lost this year in Larimer and Logan counties, right?
Yeah, so the risk is very similar as it is to commercial flocks. Of course, the scale is just a little bit different. But because this virus is shed and spread by wild birds, the biggest thing that our backyard flock owners can do is try to limit the possible interaction between their wild birds and their flocks. So it can be things as simple as keeping your flocks inside during periods of risk when we see birds flying through. And then as you're going in to take care of your flock, if you have them in a pen or in a separate facility, that you're using clean clothing. If you imagine a goose flying over a farm and there's goose droppings on the ground, and we as people, we're going out to take care of our birds, and we walk through the goose droppings and we walk with those goose droppings on the bottom of our shoes into the barn with the birds, that is a really good way to introduce avian influenza to a flock.
Avian flu a few years ago was blamed as one of the big culprits in high egg prices. Should we be bracing for that to potentially happen again if this outbreak does spread past the egg facility in Weld?
So I know that our producers here in Colorado have a really good network and a lot of good connections that they try to ensure that their supply is stable. So I don't know, Haley, if this one outbreak is going to cause any significant disruptions. I know our producers, one of their top priorities is ensuring that consumers have a good supply of eggs. So that is something that they are working on. I think it's too hard to say at this point in time if this is going to impact it.
State veterinarian Dr. Maggie Baldwin, thanks so much.
Thank you.
You can find interactive data for avian bird flu testing on the U.S. Department of Agriculture website. We put a link to that in our show notes. The tactics ICE agents have been using in Minneapolis and other U.S. cities have sparked outrage and concern across the country. Now, Democrats in Colorado's legislature say they want the state to get more active in countering the Trump administration's crackdown and protecting residents from what they see as abuses. They've proposed a package of bills related to immigration enforcement. Taylor Dolvin from the Colorado Sun is covering them. Hey, Taylor, welcome to Colorado Today.
Thanks for having me.
I want to start by talking specifics on some of these bills. First, they want to force ICE agents to be more easily identifiable as they do their work, right?
Yes, and I will say this bill hasn't been introduced yet, so it's not clear exactly what lawmakers are trying to do. But the overarching goal, they say, is to make sure agents aren't doing their work anonymously. Colorado isn't alone in this. Other blue states are also trying to limit masking by ICE and other agencies. The Trump administration says it's necessary to protect agents and their families from doxing and harassment. And these policies are likely to face court challenges from the Justice Department, which argues they infringe on the federal government's right to conduct immigration enforcement.
There's also a bill that would allow Coloradans to sue immigration officials in state court for violating their civil rights. That legislation already passed its first hearing after hours of very emotional testimony.
My two sons work at a car wash, and I wasn't going to come today. But my 15-year-old shared a story with me, and it broke my heart. He said, "Mom, what do I do if ICE comes to my job? Do I run to protect the people I work with? Do I fall to the floor? What if they tackle me?"
Taylor, this seems to go right to the heart of concerns over what people are seeing happen in ICE crackdowns across the country.
Yeah, and backers of this proposal say it closes a legal gap that currently allows immigration authorities a huge amount of legal cover for their actions. So if this bill becomes law and ICE entered someone's home without a warrant or beat someone up while they were arresting them, that person will be able to sue the ICE officer in state court to try and get damages.
Going back to that hearing, this bill does have opposition, both from Republicans and some of the people who came to testify on it.
There can be a way to make sure everyone is treated fairly without making it scary or risky for the people who are just doing their job. This ridiculous bill may cause law enforcement to worry more about avoiding to get sued other than focusing on protecting the community. Taxpayers could pay millions to defend officers in court. This bill is not only confusing, but it doesn't clearly explain who can be sued and for what.
Is this bill another one that's likely to get challenged in court if it passes?
Oh, definitely. Illinois just passed a very similar policy, and the Trump administration is already suing them.
So it sounds like both the civil rights bill and the mask policy aren't just happening in Colorado in a vacuum. Is it that blue state lawmakers are kind of talking to each other about these ideas?
So last week I talked with Representative Meg Froelich, a Democrat from Inglewood, as she was on her way back from Minnesota, meeting with state lawmakers from 27 other states. There, they heard testimony from people who'd experienced ICE's crackdown firsthand and talked about how to combat it. So yes, these ideas are definitely being shared.
Taylor Dolvin of the Colorado Sun, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
You know how most people with a torn ACL are told not to walk, let alone race downhill at 80 miles an hour? Well, Lindsey Vonn is not most people. The 41-year-old skier who lives in Colorado says she still plans to compete in the Winter Olympics in Italy, even after completely rupturing her ACL in a crash last week.
We have been doing extensive therapy, been consulting with doctors, and today I went skiing. Considering how my knee feels, it feels stable, I feel strong. My knee is not swollen, and with the help of a knee brace, I am confident that I can compete on Sunday.
That crash happened during a World Cup race in Crans-Montana, Switzerland, just days before the games. She lost control after a jump and ended up tangled in the safety nets. Visibility was so bad that race organizers called off the event after her crash. Doctors later confirmed Vonn tore the ligament in her left knee. She also aggravated some old injuries and suffered bone bruises.
Unfortunately, in my career, I've had a lot of challenges. It's a very dangerous sport, and anything can happen. And because I push the limits, I crash. And I've been injured more times than I would like to admit to myself even. But those are the cards that I've been dealt, and I'm going to play my cards the best that I can.
Vonn, who came out of retirement in 2024 after a knee replacement surgery, has been one of the top downhill racers this season. She won World Cup races in December and January and finished on the podium in 5 others. Now she's training in a knee brace, managing pain, and hopes to race in the women's downhill on Sunday. But she admits she's adjusting her expectations.
So this is not obviously what I had hoped for. I know what my chances were before the crash, and I know my chances aren't the same as it stands today, but I know there's still a chance. And as long as there's a chance, I will try.
A ruptured ACL usually takes months to recover from. Vonn has had more than a dozen knee surgeries in her career. She even temporarily retired because of them. This is her 5th Olympics, and at 41, she's poised to become the oldest Olympic alpine skier ever.
I think overall in this whole journey, this whole comeback has really just been about always believing in yourself. It doesn't matter how old or how young you are. If you believe and you work hard, anything is possible.
Vonn said her participation in other Olympic events, the team race and Super G, will depend on how downhill goes this weekend. That audio of Lindsey Vonn came to us courtesy of National Public Radio. We hope you'll join us again tomorrow. Be sure to follow Colorado Today in your podcast app and stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. I'm Haley May. This is CPR News.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway, where you can shop online and get easy delivery or free pickup. Whether it's enjoying fresh wings from the deli while you watch the game or getting ingredients for dinner, Safeway makes it simple to get what you need.